Hi, I'm Kenny Joya. Welcome to another one of my tutorials. In this video, I'm going to show you the media item properties, part 2 in Reaper. So in the previous video, we went over the media item properties for this section over here. Next, we have the item mix behavior, which decides what happens when we place our items on top of each other when auto crossfade is turned off. Now I brought in a drum loop so we can see this better, and by default, the item mix behavior for our items is set to the default item mix behavior in the project settings. If we go to the Advanced tab, right over here is the item mix behavior. And by default, it's going to enclose items that replace enclosing items. We could change it by default, or we could adjust it item by item. So if we choose this item and choose the default item mix behavior, which is basically just this, enclosed items are going to replace enclosing items. And what that means is if we move this item onto this one, on this side, we're going to hear both items at the same time. Notice we could see both of them. And it's the same thing on this side. As we bring it over, we're still going to hear both items. But if we bring it over and this item is enclosed by this item, they're not going to mix. We're going to hear the first item, then the second item, then back to the first item. The items are not going to mix if this item is enclosed in this item. And again, that's on by default. But we could change it on an item by item basis. So let's switch it to items always mix, apply it, and now we drag it over. We're going to hear both at the same time on this side or this side. And if we bring it in, so this item is enclosed in this item, they're still going to mix because we set it to items always mix. And the third option is items always replace earlier items. So if we choose this and apply it, if we put this one on top of this one, it's going to replace this one. So we're going to hear this one and then this one, but never at the same time. They don't overlap. But it doesn't trim this one. It's still underneath, so we can place them on top, but we're always going to hear the earlier items first. This one, then this one, and this one. So they kind of overlap, like placing items on top of each other, where we only hear one at a time. But again, we can set this up on an item by item basis, and the default is enclosed items replace enclosing items. Next, we have the loop source for the items. And you can see by default, loop source is turned on. So if I select this item, we can see that this item is looped. See this little triangle right here? That lets us know where the loop points are. So we pull this back to here. That's the real length of this file. If we drag it out like this, the file is going to loop because loop source is turned on. If we turn it off, hit apply, we can see that the item isn't looped. So if we trim it out from here, the item isn't going to loop. Now what's interesting about this is with looping turned on, it's going to loop from both sides, from the right side and also from the left side, right here. So it's going to loop before and after the file, as long as we drag it out. But like I said, by default, our items are going to loop. Now, if we don't want that, we can go to the Options menu and go down here to Preferences, under Project, Media Item Defaults, and we can see right here, all these preferences are on by default. We could turn them off if we want. Loop source for imported items, for new MIDI items, for recorded items, and for glued items. But again, we could change it after the fact just by turning it on and off right here on an item by item basis. And it's not going to loop, or it will. Next, we have the mute button. Apply, and it mutes the item selected. Now, generally, there's a better way of muting and unmuting our items. Just select the item. On the PC, hold Alt-M, and on the Mac, hit Option-M to unmute or mute our items when they're selected. Just select the items and mute them or unmute them. But we also have a mute button on each item, which only shows up by default when it's muted. If it's unmuted, it doesn't. But if you want it there all the time, which is my personal preference, just go to the Preferences, scroll down to Appearance, Media, and choose Not Muted right here. Hit OK, and now our items have the mute button all the time. So you can hit it to mute it, or hit it again to unmute our items. Or we use the keyboard shortcut, or obviously, we could do it from the Media Item Properties dialog. Hit Apply, and it mutes or unmutes that item. Then over here, we have Lock, which is going to lock our selected items. Just choose it, hit Apply, and this item is locked, which means we can't move it, we can't cut it, we can't delete it, we can't add fades, change the volume, or anything else to this item, or any items we select. We could unlock it the same way. Now, this shouldn't be confused with locking up here. This locking is used for the whole project, for locking our time selection, items full, or anything else globally. Where this locking is just meant for individual items. Just choose it, lock it, and apply it. And we can't edit or change those items. Next, we have no auto fades. Now, by default, auto crossfades is turned on right here. So if we drag an item into another, by default, they're going to crossfade. And if we don't want that behavior, we could turn it off over here. And now they don't crossfade. But if we want to leave on auto crossfades and still not have certain items auto crossfade, we could do that with the no auto fades option. Choose it, hit Apply, and now we can move this item into this item and it doesn't crossfade, even though auto crossfades is on. So this item is still going to crossfade, and the same with this one, but this one won't. Because no auto fades is turned on. And we can turn it off and apply it so crossfading will work again. This is a pretty large topic, so I've divided it into 4 parts. In the next video, we'll go through the next section of the media item properties. Thanks.